our very first session of the year. Today it's quite of a special one with none other than Mr. Maurizio Cortesi, founder of Zach Training, and Mr. Marco Houwen, founder of How Coaching. So a little bit of our fantastic speakers' background. Marco Houwen is a strategic life coach for entrepreneurs and senior executives. Mentor, facilitator, author, public speaker with 25 years of experience as an internet serial entrepreneur. And we also have a very special guest with us, Maurizio Cortesi, who has supported thousands of individuals and hundreds of entrepreneurs during his lifetime and especially during the crisis. On the moderator side, we have none other than my dear colleague Alex Pelican, head of partnerships and ecosystem development at the Loft. Prior to joining Loft, Alex was marketing and teaching associate at the University of Quebec in Montreal, and a serial entrepreneur creating companies in the space of e-commerce and the like. At Loft, he's been traveling the world, connecting fintech entrepreneurs with the local ecosystem, and has been a master of ceremony, interviewing thought leaders from all walks of life. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, screens are yours.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for the introduction. That was quite unique. So welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. Welcome to our new webinar series. It's going to be an interesting workshop and masterclass we're going to provide you in the coming months. So we're going to speak about funding, about, of course, fintech, innovation, business development, and so much more. But this year, we want to do also things a bit differently. First of all, we're going to add some gamification to our webinars just to check who's really following what we are saying, with special prizes at the end for the winners. And most of all, we wanted to build some webinars that bring some value by making you more hands-on on what's going on and giving you special quality time with our speakers. So today we have decided, and it's a trial, stay with us, to divide our webinars into. First of all, you're going to have the fireside chat panel if you want, when you can also ask your questions. So please drop them in the chat. But afterwards, you can go into 2 breakout rooms and select which one of the workshops you want to attend. So you can ask more questions to the speakers and have more insight from them directly. So without further ado, Marco, Maurizio, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. Full disclosure, guys, when Anthony approached me at the beginning of the year saying, okay, our first webinar will be on the power of the mindset with Marco and Maurizio, I thought it was still the champagne from New Year's Eve. It was still bubbling in his head. I think people are more interested by funding, fintech, business, money. And he was right. After a few thoughts, what better way to start than thinking about how can we be more resilient and how can we have a better mindset for the year to come. So thank you for being with us and sharing your thoughts, because you guys are two of the best leaders in the industry today. So let's start by a quick introduction. Marco, I know you for so many years. You are still one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in Luxembourg, also one of the most successful. And it was quite a shock, a surprise to me when you say, Alex, I'm changing my life. I'm going to coaching after spending so many years in technology. So please, can you give us a little brief about what happened and about your choices? Thank you.
Well, doing that so thank you, Alex. Thank you to Anthony to have me here. It's a real honor, but answering to this shortly is almost impossible, but I will try. So my choices were that I want to take care of my self-development and share this self-development with as much as people as I can, because I believe that we are all thinking so much about what we want to achieve in the external world, but not so much about what we want to achieve internally. And so where do I come from? Well, 20 years ago, actually, I already had in the mind to create a platform around personal development. And then the first crisis, which was the internet crisis, the internet bubble, the .com bubble burst. And with Xavier, then we decided, oh, let's do some internet company. That was Data Center Luxembourg. So I created with Xavier Data Center, Luxembourg, UDNS, Lux Cloud, and so many other ones, which we are not talking about. One of the things we can talk about afterwards is why entrepreneurs only talk about the wins, not about the losses, but that's another discussion. And so we created all this, and in 2017, actually, a small anecdote. I said to Xavier when we launched it, I said, I give you 5 years of my life and then I will do what I wanted always to do. And out of this 5, I made 17. And in April 2017, I took the decision to really do and go into my passion, which I already a little bit explained, but that is an endless topic. So we'll stop there when I talk about my passion. And yeah, in 2017, I decided that I will shift totally towards being a coach, being an inspirer, inspiring myself every day. That's the first one we have to inspire. Otherwise, we cannot inspire anybody else. And working in that field as a coach, that's what I do mainly. But as a speaker and yeah, being there for people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was brief, short. I like it. Thank you. But we go deeper in that. What is entrepreneurship for you, and how you approach now things differently than before? Maurizio, up to you. I mean, I just learned that you have 2 PhDs. You are one of the most well-known coaches in meditation. I mean, you've been with us for more than 1 year now, giving meditation classes to our fintechs. Can you briefly introduce yourself, please?
Oh, yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me here. And it's really nice also to be with you, Anthony and Marco and everybody else. Oh, when I hear these labels, or the most well-known, or, you know, when Anthony, for example, says about thousands of people, and I'm really touched, you know, because sometimes I realize that we are not just touching the people who are in direct contact with us, but these people are touching also other people. And so it's a kind of a snowball effect. And this is really important for me to realize how connected we are. And so in my presentation, normally I would just say that I'm a human being like everybody else, and to remember that to myself. This is the most important thing. And then I have some labels like my PhDs, which were a very wonderful experience to learn, to research, to stay curious in a way. And this is also what actually made me attracted to mindfulness at some point, and to meditation, because it's about researching myself, researching the mind, researching the human functioning in a way. And so since now a decade, I'm working and sharing mindfulness, but I'm mostly exploring it myself through mindfulness. And so the other things that I do as a label, it's to be a teacher also at the university in Luxembourg. So I have the joy of meeting and accompanying some PhD candidates, some master students, and bachelor students as well. And so working in companies here and there, and then having the joy of sharing like this, you know, with people, having a conversation and discovering how we work together. So this is it, I would say.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's jump into it then. Marco, you spoke about entrepreneurship, and I mean, I think the entrepreneurship concept is a bit oversold in our society, because people think that entrepreneurship is, I don't know, having parties and having success and money. In the end of the day, it's a very painful process, a very painful journey with ups and downs. But I still tell everybody they should take that path, because they will grow so much. And what part of the growth is also the pain you go through, because I think there is no growth without pain. And I know you don't agree with me, because you don't agree with the no pain, no gain stuff. So what's your approach of entrepreneurship, and how you see the whole approach of life, in fact? You are on mute. That has been the most used saying in 2020. Let's make it 2020.
2021. I was muted. Sorry for that. And I will not mute myself anymore. So yes, what is entrepreneurship? Yes, it's this glorified Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, whatever other person running behind, being successful, getting all their money as they do, and being the richest man in the world as Elon now is, and. Now, first of all, that's only one part of the story, because we don't see all the hardships they do. We don't see whatever happened. And some of them shared with us when Elon said, when he sold PayPal and he got into and he got into Tesla and SpaceX. Well, he had $1 billion there and $1 billion there, but he still was living at the house of a friend because, well, he was really exposed. Like, there are hassles. He got divorced, just the usual things for some of our let's call them, and I'm ironically here, successful entrepreneurs who are successful in the eyes of the framework we are working in, which is doing a lot of money and so on. So for me, entrepreneurship, and that's something we can go deeper, but for me, entrepreneurship is first about passion. It's first about really, you want to create something, you want to be, you want to deliver something to society, to whatever. You want to create a product. It's passion. It's really about giving that. And as you said, it's about hard work. It's about long hours. It's about, and actually that's something I talk a lot about now, and I feel and I hear a lot about also from my coachees. It's about what they call occupational loneliness. It's about feeling lonely, because even so, you have all these people around you. You cannot talk to your people most of the time because you cannot share everything. It's like you are in networking events, which are, let's face it, very often very dull and not a lot of depth in it. So you're really in a lonely space. But entrepreneurship is also so much joy to work, to achieve, to create, and to self-realize ourselves. And so it's all that.
Thank you, Marco. You mentioned something interesting, is the passion, and it's also the purpose. And I think, I mean, we all been through that, saying, okay, what's my purpose in life? I mean, we went through school, we learned something, and we thought you're going to do that for the 50 years of your professional life. But most of the time, it's not like that. And well, some of my friends went through, and I will go maybe because I'm reaching 40. It's a midlife crisis. But the midlife crisis, when I'm looking, is most of the time people are asking questions. Say, okay, I've always spent half of my life. What's the purpose of my life for the next 40 years? And Maurizio, what's your advice for people to respond to this question? How can I do some kind of introspection and find purpose? What would be my purpose in life?
Wow, what a big question there. Yeah. So already I feel that I'm really lucky to consider that at 40 years old, I still have 40 years of my life. This is not a reality for everybody. So this is really, it's really incredible to be able to envision that length of life. It's an incredible gift. And so just to realize that already for me is something that makes me stop. Wow, what is this incredible time? But I'm really touched by what Marco said about this occupational loneliness. And we realize also in psychological research, there is a lot of evidence right now that we are relational beings. And so one of the most important aspects in health, when we go to doctors for a long time, we spoke about eating, we spoke about sport and sleeping. But more recently, we are really talking also about the social environment and social connections, not just in terms of the quantity, but the quality. So I think that a way of introspecting can be also really realizing the length of our life, what happened before, what we are envisioning later, but also to pause a little moment with these aspects, these different areas, and especially to realize that at some point, my social quality of interactions, the time that I spend with myself and with other people, interacting as humans, it's incredibly valuable and it's incredibly important for my health and the health of the community as well. So it's not just about the products we create, it's not about just what we share in terms of our ideas, but it's really in terms about how do we relate to each other. So that was for me a very important question. So what can I receive from people? Do I have space to receive something from another human being? And do I have space to give something to another human being, which is not just about my products, my selling, or my passion, but really in terms of my humanity, the challenges, for example. So Marco said it beautifully. I mean, every one of us, not just entrepreneurs, have challenges, but can we relate to that? Not just in terms of how many money, how much exposure do I have, how many failures, but really, yeah, what does it mean to be human today? and it's challenging sometimes.
You want to add something, Marco?
I love it because it's exactly how I see or how I feel it when you talk about that we have to interact, and in these times where this interaction is so compromised, the way we were interacting 2 years ago or a year ago still, so we're still not a year in Corona, but the way we connected and it was something which we had learned all over life. Now I'm a total believer in that we can still connect over through Zoom or whatever. So I think pheromones are totally overrated. So that's the only thing which is missing when we talk to each other, because we don't smell each other. But for the rest, we hear and
Sometimes
all
a
good.
thing, but,
Sorry?
Sometimes a good thing, but continue.
Yeah, that can be a good thing. But what I want to say is, it is really important in these times that we find a way how to connect. Like for me, myself, I'm sitting 80% of my time in this chair, in front of this big screen, which I've set up so that I can do proper video conferences. Now, what I did is I reach out to 3 people randomly out of my life, out of the last 20 years, and I just get in touch with them, and we have a Zoom call. I never would have done that when I would have still running around and running to my next meeting and so on. But now I talk to people I didn't talk to for years, and it's amazing. So we have to make things. Well, we have to find our own way to connect again. That's what I want to say. It's like, that's my way. Everybody does what he wants, and what he needs in that way. That's what I wanted to add to that.
Okay, interesting. If we go one step further and beyond the purpose, and what would be the tools? Because that's something, I mean, you guys know me, I'm quite a pragmatical guy. So I go directly to the scope is, what would be the tools to improve my well-being and improve also the way I approach difficulties in life, be it as an entrepreneur or in the personal life? I know, Marco, I've done some of the session of meditation with you. Can you talk a little bit about the not maybe just tools, your approach to this?
You mean Marco? You mean me?
Marco. And I also done it some with you, Maurizio, but Marco, I
Okay.
was next to him.
No, that's great. So thank you. And it's a very good question, because there are so many different tools we can use. So there is this overrated phrase we are using is, be in the now, come back to yourself, and then things will work out. So, and you'd ask me what I do when things are getting out of hand, when my mind runs wild for the past, for the future. I connect to my heart and I connect to my gratitude. So it's not so much about the heart. So forget that. That's another subject we can tackle maybe another time. But connect to gratitude. I really look at what am I what I'm really grateful for right now. Even so, what happens around me, and you think everything is exploding, you always find something to be happy for. And if it is only the breath you can take at that moment, and that calms my mind and allows me to get into a focus state again where I can go forward. So that's an immediate tool which works. And actually, if you practically right away, it always works. If you want to use some NLP on top of it, if you do that, put your neck out, put your head down and look up, because you cannot get a negative thought when you look up. That's NLP. So that's neuralistic programming. It's just how it works. And do that every time. That's a very practical thing. And then I will talk about in the workshop, but it's about intention, and it's about linking goals to intention. Because one of the big things we're doing is we are all good in fixing goals, especially our entrepreneurs in the room here. We fix goals. Great. And then we forget that we have to get there. And we have to live the journey through that. So we have to give ourselves the tools to do that. There's a two. So, and we'll talk about intentions afterwards, but these are 2 tools I could so Maurizio, what is your take? Sorry, I'm taking on the moderator role. Yes.
Yeah, but this is really, it's really touching for me, because what you said about gratitude really resonates here as well. And it's about, for me, really not having injunction. It's really easy when we find recipes, or we speak about recipes to make things better. It's already this idea. I expect that my life needs to be better than it is. So I'm already far away from where I am right now, which is maybe not very good, or I don't feel very good about it. So first of all, for me, it's important to say none of this is a bulletproof recipe. It's really about exploring what is my recipe right now. Yeah. And the being in it right now, for me, it's also about exploring what is the condition right here in this moment. What do I feel? What happens to me? What is the situation? And what is adapted here? For me, it's an incredible possibility also for entrepreneurs, because we speak about creativity also of entrepreneurs. So how can I be creative in the recipes that I apply in my days to support myself in the journey as a human being? And at the same time, it increases flexibility. But it resonates with me, gratitude. It's incredibly important. And for me, when we talk about gratitude, we talk about really connecting with what is happening now and what can I be grateful for in this moment. And it allows some concentration also. But at the same time, we have another network in the brain, which is the default network, which works mostly when we are actually exploring nature. It's really open. Yeah, it's very creative as well. It's not focused. And it's a very important network as well in the brain. But it goes also into rumination most of the time. So my suggestion there would be to point also to some research that speaks about awe, yeah, and wonder, the experience of wonder. So can we connect to that, to open to this window that is more related to something spacious, infinite? So we go in nature for a walk, for example, when we feel stuck. We look at the landscape, or maybe we also reconnect to some situations or memories in the past that were wonderful for us, that were generating wonder. I don't know, our kids were walking for the first time, or a specific partner that made me feel something specific in a situation. So we really connect to wonder as well, to open up a more spacious environment, a landscape in the brain and in the heart.
So gratitude and wonder, that would be the two ways of, let's say, not really focusing, but having a better approach.
Yes, and maybe if that one thing, it's not just to expect that it comes from the outside, because these are really attitudes that we cultivate ourselves. Yeah, so it's not just, oh, I can look at landscape, it's fantastic, but I don't feel anything. So it's also about the way we look at things. And can I stop and pause a moment? It's like, how am I looking to this landscape right now? And can I change perspective on it? Can I let myself be touched by it? And the same for gratitude, I would say.
Awesome. It's one of the things I used to say to most of my friends and family. Life, it's all about perspective, and it's how you see things. What's your intake about perspective and how to change perspective, Marco?
You know, I like to share on that something which is actually how are emotions and reactions created. Emotions and reactions are created through thought. So first we have to think something, then we will have an emotion, and then we have an action and a reaction on that. So changing our perspective is changing our thought. It sounds simplistic, and it is simplistic. Now, how can we change our thought? The thought we can change when we get aware that we have a thought which we don't want to think. So it's a vicious or a positive spiral, because if you do not get aware, you go down and down and down. I can give an example of my daughter yesterday night. She was sitting here, and she is in like she has so much tests right now. It's like just crazy for her. And she sit here and she was learning good, and then she was freaking out, crying. I cannot do it. It's too much. And I said, stop thinking this thought. And she said, you always start thinking. And then the most easy thing is just taking people away from that thought. Make them think about something else. Whoops. The emotion is something else. The reaction is something else. Now we have to find our own way how to catch our thoughts. Changing perspective is about catching our thoughts. Now, I think Maurizio and myself, we both agree on that meditation and deep breathing are ways of doing that, but there are other ways of doing that. Like you change your way how you walk, you change your way how you stand, you change your physiology. No, that comes back to the whole physiology thing. So back to NLP, I talked about a little bit before. So there are different ways of doing that. But the important thing is change your thoughts. Change your thought, change your life. Nothing more easy than that.
Awesome. You want to add something, Maurizio?
Well, I think that one of the most important things here for me, it's really that we can invite ourselves to pause. And when we pause, we're already creating a space between our thoughts and reactions. Mm-hmm. And when that space is available, we can start seeing also what is bubbling up in our heads, what is happening in the body. As Marcus said, there are many, many ways to nourish this pause, to cultivate it. It can be coming back to a breath. It can be coming back to the body. It can be simply noticing that I'm walking or that I'm standing. But it can also be very basically when we wash our hands in the morning or the face, can I feel the freshness of the water? That's already shifting the brain to coming back right now and here. And an important quality of a brain is really this neuroplasticity. So the brain is changing over and over again as we stop and we take other ways. So, but it's not going to be an easy process. This is really important also to stress. It's going to be very complicated because it's so easy and so fast to get used to routines and to fall back into them. So the idea is there also, how do I create the conditions in my environment, in my days, to support myself in choosing the pause more easily? So if I want to read, for example, and I want to read more often, if I throw away my books in the bin the farthest away from myself and I never see them, I'm not going to read probably. But if I put books on my table where I can see them every day, every moment, then maybe I'm going to support myself in that. So how do I create spaces during my day where I am somehow forced to slow down? And this is for me really important. And I think there is also a second aspect for me. It's not just about how I change my thoughts, but it's also about how do I abandon them. And this is really important, as Marcus said, abandoning one thought, seeing that it's there. But also something that supports me a lot is how do I relate with what is happening? So if I experience impatience, for example, and I choose for a moment to be very patient with myself when I'm impatient, then I'm already nourishing patience. If when I'm angry, I don't judge myself because I'm angry, but I sort of tenderly look at myself. It's like, whoa, now I'm really angry, and it happens. And this is already shifting from anger to something that is more related to tenderness, to welcoming. So it's not just about the thoughts, but it's also about the way we look and we get in touch with what is happening for me. Very important. Something that we can talk about is self-compassion, which is not a soft quality, but it's incredibly valuable as strong. And I remember an article that I read once about soft skills. We still talk about soft skills, but these are hard skills. Yeah. Incredibly essential.
I agree. Marco, you want to close because I mean we are out of time. You want to add one last thing?
Well, I would just like this conversation going on for another half hour, 2 hours. But thank you, Maurizio, because it's exactly that. It's about the awareness of the thought, and it's about letting go, or letting go of the attachments. That's how I call it most of the times, because I'm not a believer in letting go of fear. I'm a believer in letting go of the attachment to fear. Fear is not a negative or positive. Fear is fear, point. So it's not about letting go. And I'm fearless. There is no human being on this earth which is fearless. There are human beings who are attaching to their fear and get absorbed by their fear. There are human beings who can detach from their fear and use the fear when it is reasonable to use it. Huh? Because if there is the tooth tiger running behind you, well, you better run. So there is reason for fear, but it's just to understand that it's not absorbing us. So it's the detachment to that. And so I totally adding that to what Maurizio says. And
it also be, and you're right, Mark, also a powerful driver for most entrepreneurs is fear, but also ego. Ego can be a friend, but can also be your worst enemy in most
absolutely. Actually, I love that subject because there's so much spiritual, sorry, from my perspective, nonsense on we don't have to have ego. No, well, we have to. Ego is part of us. We have to know our ego. We have to understand our ego. And as Maurizio says, just saying, okay, well, I was really a jerk there. Well, that's good. Great. And through that practice of getting aware, where you choose what you want to be. So if you chose to be a jerk, you most likely don't go down that road. So you automatically become a more gentle, compassion and self-compassion person.
Thank you. We just had a message from Vanessa on the chat. Between what happened to us and how we react, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom from Frankie. So thank you, Vanessa, for the sharing. Gents, thank you so much. We will let you go to your respective rooms, virtual rooms. And Anthony, if you can just share some details about the quiz and then how to go into the breakout. Maurizio, Marco, thank you so much again for the nice fireside chat, and for sure we will invite you back.
Thanks a lot, Alex.
Thank you for dropping the quote, Vanessa. It's one of my favorite quotes ever. If you haven't checked out the book Man's Search for Meaning, written by Viktor Frankl, you have to pick it up. So a few more things before I let you leave into your respective breakout rooms. What we want to do is a quiz session with you. The 3 top scoring participants will be mentioned afterwards. So all I'm going to do is to drop in the chat forum the link to the quiz. Please click on it, and then I'll be starting in about 45 seconds. Okay? All you need to do is to click on it and to start, and we'll start the quiz together. Can you open it? Okay, I already have the first people popping in. We are starting in about 30 seconds. Let me do, okay.